Oh, I seem to have lost my picture. Why is my camera not on? My video capture device is not working. That one is over there. I apologize for this. I only just noticed this wasn't working, so let me put myself there and save and make sure. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. Okay, hopefully you're able to see that. Oh, excuse me. Someone at the door. Worst start to a stream ever, right? Worst stream. No one watching, but obviously this is being recorded for posterity. So, let me just stop there, and I am going to briefly explain. Well, first of all, I'm going to tweet to say streaming now, because I feel even more silly when I am talking to myself and there's nobody listening live. So today, my intention is to get the Compiler Explorer beta nodes up, running, and running Compiler Explorer outside of Docker. So the way that things currently work is that the environment that the website runs in, and therefore the compilers inside of it and any execution, if it was doing any execution, is that the everything runs in a Docker container, but over the years the Docker container has become less and less important, and it just really ended up being a sort of protection from idiocy, if nothing else. You know, on my part, like accidentally wiping stuff or doing anything problematic. I know that I could restart a node and it will put in a fresh new Docker container and everything's isolated in there. So that's pretty cool. That will no longer be the case when we want to move to executing user code, because I want to use a different jailing technique where the processes that I run, be it the compilers themselves or user code when the time comes, I want to run inside a very strict sandbox. And you can't run something in a sandbox if you're already in a sandbox like Docker provides. So I have to take things out of Docker and then run things directly in the sandbox. And the sandbox I'm using is FireJail. And those who've been following along the last few days will know that I've been suffering a lot from trying to make sure all the compilers work, and particularly the ones that run under Wine. So the Microsoft compilers that we have on the site are broken into two types. We have the ones that Microsoft themselves support, and those are run actually remotely on a Windows machine. And the compilers that I run on the nodes directly that are run under Wine, which is an emulator of a sort of the Windows subsystem. That means that is a bit more complicated than running a regular process, and getting it running reliably under a jailed environment was fun and the subject of about 2.5 hours of head scratching the last time I streamed anything to do with Compiler Explorer. So let's talk a little bit about what today is going to look like. So I have a whole bunch of scripts inside the Compiler Explorer image directory, and you can see most of them have been changed and fiddled with multiple times now. These scripts here are responsible for allowing me to run and administrate the site, and they also set up the nodes that Compiler Explorer runs on, and they're also responsible for running the site. So when Compiler Explorer is actually running, it runs this script, run site. This is very, very different from how it used to be. This used to have a whole bunch of Docker related stuff in it, but I've taken that out. And ultimately at the end here, we're just running node and we're outputting, what am I doing? No, we're not outputting, we're running app.js, and we're passing a bunch of parameters to it and some extra arguments that come from some configuration. The update code section here is the thing that actually pulls down the version of the code that we're going to run. And we blow away the old version, and we call this get release code with a deploy directory. And this is, if any of you remember how the process of telling Compiler Explorer which version of the code it runs, this is where that ends up sort of coming into force. We grab something from S3, and that S3 is a tag which says where to go and get the actual version from. We then grab that particular version, download it, chown it, do all the needful things, and so every time we restart it, we'll go and get a new tarball of the image that needs to run. And that tarball contains, it's built by Travis, and it contains everything that you need to do, everything you need to run a Compiler Explorer instance, except for the compilers, which live somewhere else. There's some magical stuff to do with Boost going on up here as well. So this used to be a lot more complicated. It's now a lot more straightforward. But in order to get this running on a node, we need to make sure that all these setup scripts run okay. So it's all the apt install stuff that's required to for the base image. Some of this stuff was in Docker before, and now lives here. We have some common code that was extracted that also had a lot of stuff to do with Docker. Now doesn't need it, thankfully. I need to work out how to get my logging working. And last night I was playing around with trying to get this to work locally. So ideally I'd be able to test this locally rather than forever running off to Amazon to to sort of test what's going on. But it hasn't historically worked all that well. So where was I? Yes, I was looking at this Packer stuff. So when I build the VMs that we actually fire up on Compiler Explorer, it goes through this thing called Packer. Packer is a... Where are we? Let's get the help up. Packer, and I need to remember what it's called. HashiCorp, that's what it's called. So HashiCorp is the company that makes a whole bunch of useful tools that are great for making images and stuff. We use both their Terraform to control the way that the entire overall AWS system is set up, but we also use Packer, which is a way of building a VM in the cloud with the sort of settings that we want. And so this is the configuration file for Packer. And I tell you what kind of thing I want to build. In this instance, I'm going to build an EBS image, which is an I can't even know what the E is, but a block storage device on Amazon. Yes. Feel free to mention mention this wherever. I don't know how useful or interesting it will be to anybody, as you're probably realizing. I haven't thought about this at all, but by all means, please. And hello everyone. I see people are actually joined now. When I started this, I completely fluffed it yet again. But anyway, so this sort of tells Packer roughly what to start with. So it tells it what kind of image it's going to make on the AWS. What kind of instance it's going to run on AWS. It's going to sort of pick the base machine image, which is going to be the most recent Ubuntu 18.04, and then we're going to copy some files onto the instance once it starts up, and then we're going to run this script here. And this script here doesn't do very much at all. It mostly just checks out the Compiler Explorer image project and then runs that setup script. Now, I was testing this locally because I wanted a fast turnaround, and unfortunately testing locally worked right up to the point where it needed to do some things that really can only be done on AWS, like, for example, mounting EFS drives. So if I remember right, let me just sort of do make Packer local. So I made this local Packer last night, and what that is it's a very similar file, but instead of trying to build an AWS image, I actually want to build a Docker image. Now I know, again, the whole intention of this, thank you Victor, and hi Gaurav and Antonio and Oliver. Oliver, my kids and my wife thought that your cat in a box tweet was the funniest thing ever. We keep replaying it. It's the best. Thank you for that. All right, moving on. So although I'm trying to get rid of Docker here, what I'm using is using this to test the scripts in a Docker container, so I can do it very quickly and locally without having to fire up AWS instances. And so broadly, this is the same kind of script. Excuse me. As you saw in packer.json, except that instead of git cloning the repository, I actually copy the current files as they are on my local file system into the Docker image and run them from there. So it gives me a kind of 90% same setup. And so we'll get to see what Packer looks like when it runs locally. And Packer can obviously build all sorts of different images. Docker is just one of them. So there it is doing its magic. We'll leave that going while we talk, because I'd like to look at the end of it to remind myself of where we were. So let's look at setup.sh while it's going. So this setup.sh has, first of all, it runs a common setup script. And so setup.sh here is the one that's run to set up a Compiler Explorer regular compilation node. We have different ones for the build machine and the admin machine, but everything is here is canonicalized and mostly, I think, works still. So we run the common setup script. Let's go and have a look at that. And we add a read-only flag. So we actually mount the Compiler Explorer directory read-only, which is a good thing because nobody on the compilation nodes should be able to affect or make any changes to things that are in the network drive. So let's have a look at setup common. We've got a bunch of hacks that have been learned over the years of getting things working. We're like waiting stuff. There's a few of these, if not updated. These are long-running tasks I guard with some magical file, the presence of which tells me I've already done this. This is because that setup script is also rerun when the node restarts, just to make sure that any changes that I've made in the setup script get applied there and then. But some of these things just take too long, and I've just got a little thing to guard it, or they're not idempotent. So there's some things to do, some setting, and then we end up, this getConf here goes and gets like a secret from the secret store. So where my log destination is secret, only because it was in my configuration file. So there's nothing anyone could do. You can only write to it, but clearly somebody along the way had copy-pasted the code from my setup and was dumping their logs into Compiler Explorer, which meant I got all sorts of alerts on my phone telling me that, like, oh, this process died and whatever. I'm like, ah! But it was just somebody else, and it also pushed the bill up because the amount of lines that were being logged was a lot higher by whoever this person was. So this is, of course, complete security by obscurity. There's no actual password on this because it's just using UDP over the internet. So we're configuring paper trail, which is the name of that log aggregation system I've shown you before, and making sure that our syslog can talk to it. And this, here we go. This is the thing that's adding. Whoops! My process. The mount of opt Compiler Explorer image there. So that's adding it into the fstab, and then we're mounting it, and then we go and we do some magical things here. There's just very little. So that's the base image really. It's just configuring up the logging, mounting the file systems that we know we need, and installing some absolute minimal base packages like AWS CLI, so we can actually talk to AWS. So that's the common settings. After that, now we're into code that's unique and special for an image, for a compilation node. That compilation node needs to have the i386 architecture added, and then we need a version of Wine that is up to date. So this is magical stuff that used to live inside the Docker container. So now we're into the new. You can see that on the left-hand side of my IDE, this green bar means this has all been added. And so this is all completely new. This is part of the stuff I'm testing. This used to all live, as I say, inside the Docker image, which we would then just run here. And now I'm bringing it onto the machine itself. One other thing that we used to do through Docker was run Nginx. So Nginx would run on port 80 and would redirect traffic through to 102.4.0 so that I get some kind of laundering and filtering capabilities rather than directly exposing everything to the outside world. Although I might do that yet. If Nginx turns out to be a problem, then I could just literally mount Compiler Explorer or set up a redirect between port 80 and port 102.4.0. But for now, I think I'm sticking with the simpler case here of having Nginx do the work that it was doing before. But previously, Nginx was run inside the Docker container, and there were all these links between the Docker container and a sort of like Docker Compose style thing. Now, of course, it needs to run on the system. So I'm just copying my configuration file directly into Nginx's configuration file. So we can just have a quick look at what that looks like. Nginx.conf. Just a whole bunch of stuff. And this is pretty standard. I think I just copy pasted this from the original. And then down here we're into the new, like the Compiler Explorer specific things. We've got some trusted real IP stuff, so that when Cloudflare proxies through to Nginx and we log anything from Nginx, we actually look, instead of at the IP addresses of the proxy service, the CloudFront IPs, we use the header that Cloudflare adds in to, provided it comes from the right IP block, we trust it. We use that as the IP address of the request, which allows flood protection and a certain amount of DOS stuff. We have a cache, and then this is all we're doing here is just redirecting logs to all.log, error.log, and then proxying to the local host 102.4.0. So this used to be within the Docker containers. This would be another Docker container. This would have the address of the unified, I think it was. So all of that should cover, I hope. Oh no, we haven't quite finished yet. So we restart Nginx so that it picks up the configuration. We then install Compiler Explorer as a service, and we enable Compiler Explorer. So there is now a long-term process called Compiler Explorer running on the instance, which was always the case before, but it used to go through Docker. And I don't think we actually had to change this any much last night. Let me have a quick look. It was in init. Yeah, these files are unmodified, I can see, because they're all white and not coloured in any way. They're not like green or blue or other colours, whatever colours are. Yellow. I can remember names of colours today. So these are all actually the same, and what changed was the run site.shell. And again, this used to then like wire together Nginx and the Docker container and let them run. Okay, well, I'm surprised that all my chatting hasn't let this finish. This is still running locally. My poor laptop is doing its work here, so I feel confident enough. So I'm going to make a new terminal, and even though that's going, I'm going to do make packer. So what the result of running make packer, I'm going to say this out loud, not because I remember exactly what's going to happen, because I have to prove to myself that anything I do here can't affect the live running site. So make packer will build a new AMI and tell me the name of that AMI on Amazon, if it succeeds. Once that AMI is around, it's just in my account. It's just like another potential place that I can... thank you, yes, think out loud. I'm not quite sure. Oh, yes, out loud. Yeah, I see you're talking, sorry, in the chat about what... Aloud. Aloud and allowed. English is a silly language. And I know for many of you it's not your first language, and yet you all speak so well, so please, I wouldn't worry too much. As long as we understand what you're saying, that's the main thing. Where was I going with this? Oh dear. It's going to be one of those days today. I must confess, I haven't been feeling 100% the last few days. You can probably hear I'm a bit bunged up. And my mind is not 100%. So what was I doing? I was saying we're going to run... Oh, yes. So if I get a new AMI from AWS, once I've got that new AMI, it won't do anything. It just sits there in my account as another potential choice for something that I can run with. Then if I were to want to make it actually take effect, I would have to go into my Terraform directory and say, hey, the next time you start an image, use this AMI as the base. Cool. Okay. I think we're good. I'm just going to find where that is now. I think is it in launch controls at the top here somewhere? Yes. So this AMI up here, this beta image ID, is the one that we'll have to change in order for this to have any effect at all. And the main thing is that it won't affect this AMI. I don't want any nodes to go up or down as a result of this. Okay, look. Yeah, that's right. This got as far last night as discovering that inside Docker I can't run systemctl because a Docker image doesn't really set up to run with systemd. And systemd is what we use on the, much to my chagrin. Yes, exactly, Oliver. So yeah, that's where I got stuck last night. Okay, I'm clear with myself now as to what it is. So hopefully everything will work exactly as it did here in the Docker image. It will work on the Packer image, running on an actual AWS instance to build the Amazon machine instance. And it will get past that point and complete. And then we're going to go and log into it and debug and just see if we can't get it to work at all. So, off it goes. So this is obviously slightly different from the beginning of doing the make packer. Let me show you my make file so you can see what I'm doing. Make file. Somewhere here. So these are the rules for those. Packer just runs it with config.json and packer.json, and packer local runs it with config.json and packer local.json. Now, config.json contains some secrets that I'm trying to hide from this stream, so I won't be opening that file up, but that make.json creates a JSON file that can be imported by the packer configuration, and that means I can inject in some of the more secret things like the AWS credentials that are allowing me to actually go and create this instance here. Okay, so you can see that the behind the scenes, the Packer builder for Amazon machine images has to do some different work from the Docker build. So with the Docker build, it literally just uses Docker commands to run all of the shell scripts and things. Here, it's having to actually fire up a machine remotely and SSH into it. So if I now go, while this is running, and log into AWS, we should be able to see this happening behind the scenes, which is fun. Yes, I should. All right. Oh. So now my scripts are starting to run. This is my script now running. This cloud init is just waiting for the cloud init, which is like a effectively the boot parameters that were passed into the instance itself. Wait for that to take effect, and say that everything is ready. I have prepared the machine. It is good to go. And now we're starting to run all of the very many apt-get updates, apt-get installs, and all that kind of nonsense. So off it goes. Yeah, so there's a question about the makefile, maybe? I'll look back in a second and see if you update there. So EC2. We should be able to see five instances running, maybe? 4. Interesting. Oh yes, I'm no longer running a beta or a staging environment all the time. It seems superfluous. And now I can start and stop them easily, thanks to the command we put in the other day. It makes sense for me not to run the bill up unless I actually am doing something useful. So, and sorry, but my font sizes and things are all a bit confused because I'm trying to make sure that the images are big enough that actually the MPEG compressor has something to work with. Otherwise, you're just going to see a lot of fuzzy, small, unreadable text. But it does mean my UI looks a bit funny. So there's the Packer builder running there, and it's running on a T2 medium. I should probably update that. Everything else runs on T3. Doesn't really matter what it builds on. And it's off doing its thing. And we have to cross our fingers and hope that this is just going to work. So there was one thing that I needed to think about. And while that's going, as we've got sort of, this is going to be definitely a waiting game kind of a live stream today. Wish I could get these things to abut properly. Is, so let's close the Packer JSON, Packer there. And that is in this run site.sh. It used to be the case that I ran something called logspout. Logspout was another Docker container that itself monitored the output of all other Docker containers and turned the output, like the stood out, into a stream that would be sent off to a centralized logging system. And that's great. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you. And all right, okay, something to improve the makefile, making makefiles prettier. Okay. I see. Thank you. If you want to post something there, please do. Always up to making things look prettier. Pretty things are nicer to look at, right? It's nice. It reduces the cognitive load of what you have to do in order to sort of like make progress. This is something that Kevlin Henney does a great talk on about why we indent code, what indentation rules make sense, and I agree with the vast majority of what he says on these things, which although I don't always ascribe to them, but just like his point was, if you wear eyeglasses, and I do, and I'm wearing contacts at the moment, if you can take your glasses off and from the blurry screen still see the flow and the structure of a program, you're probably doing something right, and I agree with that. And I think that syntax coloring falls into broadly the same category as well. I find it very hard. Like here, there's no syntax highlighting in here, and I could probably install a plugin for. I was going to say Visual Studio. Gosh, it's been years since I've done that. Oh my golly, it looks like it actually ran. That took remarkably short amount of time, and I am very surprised that it worked. So. Colour me surprised. But anyway, syntax highlighting also helps, and maybe that's what you're talking about. Yeah, when you think, yeah, I think I'm a visual person. I like from a young age. As a programmer, like at college, I remember using coffee cups, and using the handle as like the next pointer when I was like writing and debugging linked lists, and I would like point them towards me to say that was a null pointer. And then I have strong memories of particular cases of like having certain coffee cups in a certain place. Obviously not everyone thinks the same way, which is what makes life so interesting. But for me, a positional thing helps, and so having positional and shapes that I recognize is useful. Yes, yeah, right, exactly, Conrad. Yeah, yes, Kevlin Henny. Thank you, Andreas, as well. Sorry, I think he's got it available as a stream that you can watch on YouTube. I mean, certainly he at a conference I was at recently, he did a brilliant talk, and he's a fun person too. Okay, so now we're just waiting for the AMI to become ready. This is proportional to how big the Amazon machine image is. So what's happened here is we ran an Amazon machine. We ran a whole bunch of commands on it to mutate its state, and then we did a snapshot of its hard disk, and now that snapshot is being stored as an AMI, which is effectively just taking that snapshot and populating it to all of the places around that I might want to start a new machine with a clone of that hard disk. This takes a long time, and it takes longer depending on how big the image was. Oh, and it's just finished, I think. Oh no, it's still waiting, maybe. But it used to be the case that we actually installed all of the compilers inside either the Docker container, which I then pulled down onto the images, or into the instances themselves. But this part of the process just took so long. It took literally tens of hours to do gigabytes worth of compilers, and now we have over 300 gig of compilers, so it would just not have worked. But I have an AMI. Woohoo! Okay, rather than do anything rash like actually start up the beta environment, I'm going to go and explore this image directly. So I'm going to launch an instance manually in the console, and I use my AMIs, and I'm going to... Can I not type it? Does that work? Oh, good. So we'll have one of those, please, Bob. T2 micro is probably a bit small for what I want to play around with. Let's use a T3. T3A? I don't know what T3A is versus T3. Let's give one of those a go. What the heck? Instance details. One, yes, my VPC. So VPCs here are virtual private clouds. It sort of like allows me to link all of the nodes together in one sort of unit. So they're on the same network. And it doesn't matter which subnet they're on, I don't care. Yes, we definitely need a public IP because I'm about to SSH into the box. I'm not going to put it into a placement group. I don't know. This is new. I haven't seen this stuff before. I'm going to ignore it. Here I'm going to have a compiler explorer role. Everything used to be called Xania blog, which is the name of my blog. And I've originally ran my blog here, and over the years I have slowly but surely moved things away from using that name in my in the compiler explorer stream. So let's just have the compiler explorer role. So that is the IAM role, which is the gives the machine itself some right. So even if I'm not logged in, if there's no human logged into the console, there's no person associated with it, that machine has the capability to do certain things on behalf of my account. So obviously I want to restrict that on the compiler explorer role, so that even if someone does compromise the machine, that they can't really do anything, like for example start up new instances. CPU options, what do I get here? Whoa, I don't need to specify those. Shutdown behavior, stop, no detailed thingamajig, shared, yep. We don't want an elastic inference accelerator. Sounds interesting. Okay, storage, 10 gig. Why? It's free. Let's have 20. Why would we not have more space for now? Add tags. Don't need any tags for this, actually. Security group. So let's pick an existing security group, and we should have a... I am going to... So we've got so many of these. I I don't actually want it to be an internal traffic only because I want to actually be able to get to it myself. So I'm going to give it the same security group as my admin node, which I can log into from the outside. And this is like a network traffic security group. So let's review. Whatever. SSD, sure. Yes, it's not. I don't care. That's fine. Don't show me this again. I'm okay. It is open to the world. Okay, but you have to know my password, and it has all these things here, mosh and whatnot. Sounds good to me. Fire the Delta Beam. I acknowledge that I have access to this. Go. They're now launching. Excellent. So we can now go back to here, EC2. You do learn. Learning about DevOps here is I hope there are better places to learn about DevOps than me floundering around. I have some people who do this for a living, and they are much better than me. They have helped me a few times, so I've picked up a few of the things that they do. But oh, there we go. Let's just call this testy test. There we are. That way I won't accidentally use it for the wrong purpose. So it's apparently running. We've now got a public address here, which you all can try and hack. Good luck. Do you want to continue? Yes, I do. And there we are on our new node, shiny new node. And we've got nothing in the home directory, which is what is expected, but I should have a compiler explorer image here. Yay! Oh, CD compiler explorer image, ls-l. Isn't that lovely? Right. So let's play around. Let's see what I've got here, right? Because part of this is me not really knowing what I've got here. So let's look at var log syslog. Pulling from Matt Godbolt compiler explorer. Blast, of course. I just remembered something here. Rather unfortunately, this is now running not the beta version of everything, but it is it's going to be running the new car smell. Yes, I actually hate that. It gives me motion sickness. Or maybe that's just like one of those things that's stuck in your head from a childhood. So unfortunately, there is one thing that we didn't specify when I fired up this node, and it's the one thing we need to change. So there is a magical special like command line parameter that tells the nodes whether it's alpha or beta or production or whatever. So I can change the settings, add edit tags. Where is it? Somewhere in here. View change user data. Hurrah. User data. You need to stop your instance. Yes. Blast. Right. So instance state, stop. By default, it will be a production node, you see. Okay. So we killed it. Testy McTest is gone to sleep. I really wonder what's going on behind the scenes here. It's absolutely fascinating. I mean, whatever they're doing at Amazon, they're doing something very right. Come on. I don't suppose when you tuned into this live stream, you'd mostly be staring at progress bars with me. Can I change it yet? I don't imagine I can. Let's view change user data, empty. So, plain text, I'm going to write the word beta in there, or beta. And then we're going to start it. Yes. Hi, Luca. Yes, I added you as a moderator. I hope that's okay. I actually did it kind of by mistake while I was clicking around. But I figured actually you would probably be a good moderator. So if you don't mind, obviously I'd be happy to unmoderate you if you don't want to be involved in that. I should have really messaged you. But I was actually looking back through the stream last night and seeing that there were a couple of people who came in and caused a bit of trouble. Mainly just one person came in and swore a lot, and then someone else asked some weird off-color questions. So if you're happy enough being a moderator, it would mean that if somebody is making obvious like spam comments or swearing for no good reason, like yesterday, I think you can do something. Thank you, Luca. I appreciate it. But yeah, while I was doing that, I actually misclicked, and then it made you a moderator. I was like, oh, I'll keep that. I think I made Pantufel a moderator as well. Anyone else who wants to moderate, I'm happy. But this is all new to me. All right, we're running. We've got a different IP address because that makes sense, right? Actually, I'm gonna use Mosh. Do I have Mosh running on the server? I can't remember. Yes, obviously I do. Have you installed Mosh on the server? No, I haven't. It's only on the admin node. Okay, never mind. So Mosh is a mobile shell thing. It's cool for a variety of interesting, and I've got the wrong IP address, haven't I? Reasons. I use it because it allows me to connect in reliably and reconnect reliably, even when my IP address is roaming. Because, for example, I'm taking my laptop around and going from hotspot to hotspot. It's pretty cool. All right. Anyway, let us now have a look at the new varlog syslog and see. Yay! Okay, that's not quite what I was expecting to see. We still have got something that looks like it's trying to do production stuff. It's mentioning Docker. I know why, everybody. What is the first thing that the node does when it starts up? Is it does a git pull, right? And then it does a git checkout of whatever it thinks it's on. None of this stuff is checked in yet. That is sort of annoying, but we're on the beta branch here, so I can actually do this with relative impunity, and it doesn't affect the live running images. That's the thing that I am trying to do in my head. Oh yeah, today, Luca, sorry, we are doing mainly de-dockering. It's going to show you how the nodes themselves that run Compiler Explorer are administrated and are run as I try and change the way that the setup scripts run, change the way that the site is run and kept running, so that it doesn't run inside Docker and use Docker's magic. It uses it's just like natively running on the machine, and then that means I can use my cool FireJail stuff that I've been working on in yet another thread. So I'm going to just say work in progress on de-dockerifying the Compiler Explorer nodes. Now, normally I don't like this because I'm just pushing stuff to a branch. I'm going to have to be really, really careful when I merge back, because there is one change that I put a comment saying, do not merge to master. Obviously a comment here, it would be better to actually have something that is that prevents that from actually happening mechanically using like a git hook or whatever. But right now, and that's the thing that says, okay, when you start up, I want you to check out this particular branch. And then I've just actually changed it to check out beta for this node. So what I should be able to do now is go sudo service compiler explorer restart. You know, I think perhaps I need to change the user that Compiler Explorer runs as well, because I get free sudo for the Ubuntu user. Now, I don't think that's a big problem, but I need to think about it. That means if someone is able to compromise the website part, not the compilers that is, just the actual website part, and somehow get it to run code, they run it as a user that has access to sudo. Probably should be. What brand of tea am I drinking? So actually at the moment it's still early enough in the morning that I'm finishing off the coffee that I have not in the mornings. So the coffee I have, it's called Red Line Espresso, and it's from a Chicago roastery. It's my favourite. It's the one that my wife and I agree on, which is rare when it comes to these things. I usually like much more bitter coffees, and she's much more sweet. So this is a great compromise for us. And but to answer your actual question, I drink horrible, nasty, cheap and nasty British black tea, Tetley's tea. And I say it's horrible. It's obviously it's nice. It's a great. I like it. But compared to like the kind of artisanal tea that people seem to drink over in America without milk and stuff, and they may be lovely and all, but it's what I grew up on, or something like that. So I quite like the fact that it's like really strong. You know, we brew it for like 5 minutes, so it's super strong and tanniny and astringent. And then you put in about half a bucket of milk to sort of bring it back up to a nice tea colour. And unsurprisingly here, this didn't work. So let's go and have a look at what actually did happen. Failed with exit code. Subprocess, depackage, health ping failed. Okay, so there's some definitely, this SSM stuff I need to get rid of. Add that to my to-do lists. So there's a bunch of health monitoring stuff that I did have that I've never managed to get working, and I would rather take it out and have a think about it than put it in. SSM agent removal. Something else to do. Oh, you're a PG man. Ah, cool. Yeah, I have to explain builder's tea to most people around here. Obviously, the vast majority of Americans look at you really quizzically if you just start putting milk in your tea to start with. And they're like, a little slice of lemon? I'm like, no. Okay, errors were encountered while processing something to do with wine devel. Okay, so it looks like installation of the wine stuff didn't work. But you know what? I've been running locally with just the regular, normal version of wine. I don't have the Devel version of wine. So I don't think I need to install the development version anymore. Which would be an ideal case, right? An ideal situation. It would be nice to know what's going on here. Errors were encountered while processing that. Yeah, unpacking WineHQ Devel. Let's not do that. Let's get rid of that step. So I'm going to go back over to IntelliJ. Oh, hang on, I've got someone coming to the door. 1 second. If you could explain to anyone else. Woohoo! It's turning into an unboxing video. We've had 2 deliveries while I've been on air, whatever this is. I still don't know why I put these headphones on. There's nothing coming out of them. Earlier I had this package, which is my son's birthday present, which is his first cell phone, which is both terrifying, expensive, and scary. And then in this box, talking about Tetley's tea and everything. This, I think, is a whole case of Heinz baked beans and Heinz tomato soup. Oh, I've opened it the wrong way up. T and cats and hardcore C++. Well, mostly JavaScript and shell script at the moment, right? Oh, golly. Okay, this appears to just be Heinz baked beans. Anyway, a big tub of baked beans, because it's cheaper to get them off Amazon than it is to hunt them down in the shops here in Chicago. And although Heinz is an American company, the American ones don't taste the same. It's funny. Okay. We're a baked bean stream now. Yes, indeed we are. All right, golly. So, I've been distracted several times. There's been a number of things that we're talking about here. Firstly, I don't know why this failed, and I don't think I'm going to spend too much time thinking about why it failed when I know that we don't need it to be as complicated as it is. It seems like, while that would be interesting, I don't think I need to do it. So I'm going to get rid of that apt-get there. And that means I don't need this WineHQ wine bills release.key. Is that right? Yes, I don't think I need that one. I don't need this deb repository because, again, I'm just using the regular one. That probably means I don't need all of this nonsense here, although I don't see why. I mean, I already have curl coming. Apt transport HTTPS, apt software utils, apt software properties common. None of these things seem required anymore. Now, the architecture i386, I think I do need for other reasons. I'm going to leave it in anyway, because I think that's for the libc dev, which is just needed for some of the 32-bit compilers. So let's go with that. And now we check it all back in again. And I hate this pattern where if you've made your like live environment depend upon GitHub as being like a source of truth, then when you're doing your experimentation, then you unfortunately have to keep doing these check-in things, which is not ideal. This is also another anti-pattern you see when you're like trying to debug like a continuous integration server that you have no access to yourself or you can't run locally, and then you're always checking like, yes, another change, yes, all right, fixed typo, fixed typo, fixed typo. Oh, finally it parses my configuration file. Oh, now the build doesn't work. So I don't like it. I don't have a solution for it. What I've noticed though is when I sorted these things, I didn't actually dedupe them. I don't know why I need NAT. I'm almost certainly already got Git because that's how everything has already gone onto the system. GCC, G++, I have no problem keeping those. I think we're good. Let's leave that. Okay. Git add dot, git commit -m, more work in progress. See, that's you can tell that it's going to auto-complete this whole sentence as more work in progress because I've typed it in enough times before. Okay, git push. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, restart the service. And actually what I should do is just make sure that this stuff is actually getting logged to Papertrail. So let's go to Analytics, Papertrail, and log in. And it looks like it, yes, 30.0174. This is this machine here. Did it hear me? I'm trying to filter. I'm just clicking on the IP address here to add it as a filter, but everything keeps moving out from underneath me. Failed to start Compiler Explorer. Turns out people are using the site, the real site, and that logs to the same place. Okay, here we go. Why are you trying to do this? I thought we just stopped that. The following additional packages will be installed. Windevel. Oh, because we've already added it. Darn it. I guess this is the problem with us, like iterating on a machine that is already running. Like it's. Oh, actually, whoa. Let me think about this. Like, I got rid of all versions of wine by doing it that way, didn't I? That was daft of me. So what do we want? We want wine. I don't think I want windevel. I just want wine. So let's just see. Sudo apt install wine. Is that what I... okay, so wine. Right, given that I've been testing this locally, let's find out on my actual local laptop now what version of wine I've got. So let's do dpackage -s which wine. And I always get this wrong. Oh, no path found matching pattern user bin wine. That means I haven't installed wine this way. I thought I had just installed it through the regular wine 4.0 Ubuntu 4.01. Oh, darn. Which wine 64. Right, Oliver, yeah. It's just so apt call install -f. That's not a bad idea, actually. I might just do that in a second and just see what happens. Thank you, Conrad. I'm just now checking to see whether or not I've misremembered where the heck I got wine from here. I can't imagine I got it from anywhere else. Which package do you come from? Standard suite. I is installed, right? I think. I forget how this stuff works. But that's 4.0-1. Okay, so what did we say when I said sudo apt install, what, no, over here. Let's do wine sudo apt, right, let's do the apt get install -f. Yeah, Ubuntu, it works. Okay, so it's windevel is what it's trying to pick up on here. That's what it was doing before, and it's now going to complain about these, I'm sure. Read-only file system. See, it's trying to write to /opt. Don't install in /opt, you annoying thing. And that explains it, right? So we were previously trying to install into /opt, and /opt, obviously, if we look at /opt, is the GCC Explorer network shared drive, which I have just deliberately and on purpose made read-only. Now, as it happens, it's already on there, of course, because something along the way has made this, has installed onto that network drive. So maybe I should just leave it. I don't like that at all. I don't like it. We don't like it, precious. What version of wine do we get if I run that? Yeah, Ubuntu land, it's okay. Does it even run like this? Wine 218? That sounds old, right? Wine 64-version, wine 4.0. So that's ancient. Anything that's using that on like Compiler Explorer is already like, that's just, that shark totally has been jumped. Let us ignore that, pretend it doesn't happen. And so on the node here, I'm going to do apt install wine hq -- stable. Why would we not have the beautiful stable version of wine? Yes, please. Okay, so that's what we're going to go. If that works, don't install it on unable to clean up mess. Why does wine want to install in /opt? I don't like it. Never do that. What? I mean, so yeah, to your point, Oliver, this is the kind of thing that you never really want to have happen, right? I thought that maybe just the devel version would run. Okay, so wine Ubuntu don't install opt. The proper way. Add extra blah blah blah. I don't want that version. Maybe this is because I have this repository going. So how do I remove a repository? CD, etc. Or I suppose I'm going to check locally. Do I have this repository locally? Let's etc. Apt. And we should have sources. There's no obvious sources.list.d. And do we have a wine in here anywhere? No. No, you get to see web update, OBS project, Signal, Spider 1, Slack, all the good things, right? Let's just go in here. Let's just cd to that directory. And then, do I not have ripgrep installed on this machine? Honestly, what's wrong with me? Let's just use grep -r, and we're going to search for wine. Let's make sure. Okay, I don't have a magical directory for wine, but we do here. So let's vi sources.list sudo vi sources.list, search for wine, and let's get rid of those because we don't want that. Nobody wants that. Sudo apt update. February 2017, a good vintage, and probably hasn't been updated since because of the fact that I made the opt directory read-only. Ha ha ha. Whoops. Okay, so let's try apt install winehq stable. Hopefully now, can't find an archive for it. Okay, well, let's sudo what? Apt search wine. Wine 64. Sudo apt install wine 64 wine. It's just wine 64. See, I think we've got itself into a confused state now, haven't we? But I can't find an. So sudo apt clean up all the things, everything, please. Arg. Okay, that doesn't work, so we're gonna have to actually work out how to do this. So any help gladly accepted from here, as I've tied myself into a knot. I mean, obviously, just restarting the image is one way of doing it, but I prefer not to. Apt what? Update. We did this. Okay, so then what was the apt install -f? Let's just see if anything. So it says that, but I can't. So sudo apt remove wine devel amd64. It doesn't need to be reinstalled. It needs to just go. Purge. Grr. Apt status. What's the? Yeah, I'm just trying to go. Apt remove. What have we got? Wine-devel. Wine-devel. MD64, wine devel i386, wine HQ stable. Ah! I very nearly swore them. Let's try force. Oh, I can't get rid. Maybe I can put force before the remove. It's not installed. All right. All right. Let's just run aptitude and see what that says. Oh, I don't have it installed. All right. Install it to correct the state. Yeah, but then that was the problem, Oliver, is that the install wants to install it in /opt, which is read-only. So, install wine 64, wine 32, any of these things, anything. Just. Okay, so we're going to say apt fix needs. Wow, that's absolutely not what I wanted to see. Oh, good, here. Okay, sudo apt update dash dash fix missing configure dash a. Let's give that a go. I think that dash f was that, right? D package configure -a. Okay, what was that? Scrolling up. Wine HQ stable, but wine stable is not installed. That's fine. Apt sudo apt remove wine. Thank you, Oliver. I didn't know what the heck that was. Stable. Darn it. Fix needs to be reinstalled. Thank you, but I can't. That sounds good. But can't find the archive. Needs to reinstall. Alright. Start with sudo dpackage dash dash remove dash dash whatever whatever went wrong just typing in random commands from Stack Overflow with sudo in front of them, right? Can I unmount up temporarily? Yeah, that I can actually, Conrad. That's probably the best idea if we can't get any further down this path. Overriding problem because force enabled. Packages are very bad. You should reinstall. Yeah, I should. Right. Okay. Sudo apt update. So that's just a habit. There's no need to do apt update. Nothing changed. And let's just upgrade. See what it says. Ryan Devel. Okay, let's Ryan Devel. Lovely. Upgrade. Ha ha ha. Wine Devel dash i386 colon i386. And of course you know that this is all wine stable, which isn't installed. Oh, because it's wine HQ stable. And it didn't complain about that one. Okay. Loads of things were automatically installed and are no longer required. I'm leaving them because I'm assuming they're going to be needed by something soon enough. Apt install wine 64. Okay, wine 64 appears to be the magic. Now, there's actually some configuration changes I'm going to need to make in Compiler Explorer because Compiler Explorer is currently hard-coded to look, is configured to look at /opt/wine/ whatever you need to do. Wine. Oh, joy. Okay. So, stack so far. I need to remove the SSM agent. I need to reconfig wine. Wine in beta because the path has changed. We still have to solve the one thing that I never got round to saying, which is that currently Docker output was being picked up by another Docker image called logspout and sent off to the paper trail, but now we don't have that, so I need to somehow configure logging. Otherwise, I'm going to fill up my hard disk with log output that's never actually going to go to my centralized logging repository. But sudo service compiler. Yes, it's, yeah, okay, so I've just seen Oliver say not minutes is about to, and Antonius thought this was real time, 6 seconds for me, says Luca. So hopefully that'll give you some idea. It's a setting that I can change on the YouTube thing. I mean, I can add a delay. I haven't added a delay, but I can pick either real time, in which case it's super, super quick, but the rendering quality is potentially low, medium, or default. And I think I've got it on default, which should give you some idea about how fast it, it should be a decent enough compromise between the fact that I didn't want this to necessarily be too interactive, although it's useful, and obviously the screen image quality is really important. You need to be able to read what I'm typing. Okay. Oh, and I still didn't check in the blink in. Oh, it shouldn't matter. But we'll do it over here. I realise it's confusing because all these terminals look the same, and some are on my local machine and some are on the remote machine. So the one that's fish is my local machine. Install 164 locally. And what I think I'll do while we're waiting is I might as well get Compiler Explorer reconfigured for the beta version. Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's a good point, Luca. Luca's point here for those is that like once the screen settles down, it should be perfect because over time, the compressor will have time to like finesse. What I found when I'm doing like remote collaboration with people is that is true, but as soon as you start, scrolling up and down like this, then you have to kind of ask the person that you're pairing with to say, hey, can you just pause for a second so that my compressor gets a chance to show the code. At the moment, obviously, everything's so static because I'm just talking at you and swearing in my head mostly. That's probably still okay. So let's go and look at files, compiler, explorer, execution .defaults.properties, Amazon.properties. Okay, sandbox type equals FireGel. Sure, whatever. Oh, that's interesting. Execution defaults.properties is here. Okay, wine and wine server. So actually I seem to have lost that. Whoops. Interesting. Okay, execution.amazon.properties. We need to set this up for just normal. So now we have to kind of put our head on of like not breaking production. We're not planning on pushing any of this to production anytime soon, but I'm only in a branch for the image repository. That is like the back end stuff. This is the rest of this, the compiler explorer project, which we now have open, is not in a branch. It's in the actual master, and I'm going to use configuration options to fix that. So I seem to have lost in here. Oh, come on, explorer.amazon.properties is there. Where the heck did the... Oh, now my stack is overflowing, and I'm sure yours is too. So on my local machine, I want to go to the Compile Explorer repository itself. And what I want to do is I want to tell it about, for beta, I want to tell it where the new wine is. And I realized that I've probably broken the old wine for... yes, Pantufel. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, live code sharing is awesome in that. There are also some plugins for some of the other UIs that do some cool things. It's probably better to do that. But then the integrated environment that I'm used to is obviously C-Line and IntelliJ. Right. So git log -s wine. What the heck have I done? Conclusions of getting that. So let's have a look at that change here. 3f git show that. Initialize wine, sandbox time equals wine server equals wine prefix equals that. Wine, I search for wine equals because I think that's what I want to find. What did it use? There it is. Aha! This is the line we lost and I did not put back in the right place. Opt wine devel. So at the moment, the existing system requires opt wine devel wine 64. So this is just me actually fixing the current site if we were to restart with the new build, which we're not planning on doing right now, but it's much better to fix it now than it is to discover later that you broke it and you forgot. Okay, let's go and check on that opt directory, opt wine-devel-bin wine64 -version. Let's see what we actually really were working with before. Wine 218. Okay, so that's ancient. Now, is there a wine 64 or a wine? What have we got here? Wine server. Yes. So this just becomes wine server. Okay. Existing site fixed if we were to actually restart. That's nice. Now I'm going to do file. And we want to save as. No, I can't do that here. All right, let's go to the imagey thing here. You can do the same with Atom actually. Okay, that's cool. Let's find this file, and I'm going to make it amazon.beta.properties, or just .beta.properties actually is good enough. So this will be this will take precedence over yes the what now? Oh dear, it's starting. This will take precedence over the Amazon, I think. I hope. We'll find out. Okay, so we're going to put both of those to fire jail. Yay! Sandbox type equals fire jail. Execution type equals fire jail. Wine is this. Wine server equals that. Oh! I should install fire jail, shouldn't I? Fire jail dash dash. Oh. Ah! Yay! Okay. And then fire jail equals fire jail. Seems reasonable. Or is that the default? It is the default. Okay, it's the default. I don't need to set that. Beta properties. You can get rid of you. Lovely. Right. Several things going on at once, as ever. So in here, fire jail goes in, or foil jail. Foil jail. Foil jail. Now I'm gonna have to manually do that because of this updated .2 file. Will mean that won't get rerun. So sudo apt install firejail, just like it says there. Yes. And wunderbar. Oh, getting ahead of myself here. So a lot of things going on there. Setting up of things. Sudo apt auto remove, like it suggested earlier. Now hopefully we won't need to do that too often. That all came out from the wine stuff being installed, I presume. Okay. So we've made a change on the live system and we've made a commensurate change in the base image so that when I run this all again and try it from scratch, we're sort of iterating on approaching a reproducible thing where I don't have to log in and hack anything myself. In the Compiler Explorer codebase itself, we have made some changes to the Amazon configuration and the beta configuration. So I'm just going to say config changes for new wine and beta. Okay. CPPPP, yay! It's so exciting how many cool C++ conferences there are around. I unfortunately sort of turned down the opportunity to go to a bunch of these because at the time I was deep in a load of work, and it looked like that work would continue. Unfortunately, it did not, and now I have more time than I know what to do with, although I'm about to start a new job, so it's horses for courses. But I know, for example, we've just had CPP Now, which is probably my favourite conference to go to, and I unfortunately missed it because although I had the time off, my wife had arranged a cool birthday present, cool Christmas present for me, which happened in the middle of that, so didn't go to that. And now we've got what's the one in Israel? I can't remember. But there's one in Israel at the moment which seems pretty awesome. I know Jason Turner is there. I know Hannah Dusakova is there. So many cool things happening. And now we've got CPPPPPPPPPPPP with the wonderful Fred Tingo and oh no, I can picture your face. Joel Falcu. Both of whose names I have just completely butchered, but one tries. They are just brilliant. Yeah, I'm aiming for CPPCon as well. I'm like you saw yesterday when I did my shock horror C++ live coding. I'm trying to come up with a decent idea for that. Somebody put an extraordinarily thoughtful post on YouTube about my presentation yesterday. My stream yesterday. I need to read through it and really digest it. It's some great thoughts in there, so I'm really blessed that if maybe I'll be able to salvage something out of that. But either way, I will be coming to CPPCon. I just want to see you folks. And I did a presentation at a private company where I kind of did a bit of a best of mishmash of all of the Compiler Explorer talks and some of the new and exciting compiler optimizations I'd found along the way. And I think there's probably enough new content in that for me to submit that as a talk. So maybe I'll submit that as a talk as well. I don't know, but I'd love to. It's if you're watching this and you're into C++ and you haven't been to a C++ conference, beg, borrow, buy, steal tickets and get permission from your employer. to go. It's just such an opportunity to grow and meet people. So, yeah. Do you know how long until the CPP Now Talks up on YouTube? I do not know anything about that, I'm afraid. No, I don't have any window into that. The nearest thing I can do is ping John Calb on Slack. And also, if you're not on the CPP Lang Slack or the Hash Include Discord, I would recommend both of those things. They're just a great resource for C++ programmers to get to know each other. It's where I know some of the names that are appearing in the chat here already. It's like a bunch of old friends. It's lovely. It's really lovely. And in particular, the Hash Include Discord is extremely welcoming and just lovely. Everything's lovely. Sorry, I keep using the word lovely, and I'm forgetting what I'm doing here. So we pushed a new version of Compiler Explorer with some configuration that should now dovetail in with the new way that beta nodes look. And now we're on the beta node here, and we should be able to do sudo service restart Compiler Explorer and see where we are. Sudo service Compiler Explorer restart. I have to. Yes, so if you want to get onto the Discord, I'd search for, it's includecpp.org or something like that. It's so unfortunate that I can't. Yes, includecpp.org, and then there's a link from here to the Discord server here, and it's just a great place to hang out. There are some wonderful people there. Unfortunately, it's the one I forget to run the most often of the myriad chat clients I have open. I mean, if one were to look at, I have 10 Slacks open in Slack at the moment, and you know how dreadful Slack is for eating all of the RAM. Discord is a bit better, but I have 4 of them. I've forgotten to run Discord. Slack is great. Slack is a great resource. It may be enough. For a variety of reasons, the include Discord can be a better choice for some people, and I like to try and be on both, and I'm not very good at it. Oh, more importantly, it didn't error out. Yes, agreed with you, Oliver. Oliver's made some points. Like Discord, you just log in once and you're done. Otherwise, I'm forever reinstalling Slack on machines and then having to add in all the things. At least there's a button you can press now and it just logs you into everything, and then you can unpick the things you don't want. Still not ideal. Var log syslog. What do we get? What do we win? Failed. Main process exited. Code equals status equals 2/invalid argument. Well, we're getting somewhere now. We're getting somewhere. It knows that it's in beta. You can see I have all the debug turned on all the time. Syncing boost libraries. So we've got, should have a /CElibs. Have we got /CElibs? We do. And look, there's all the boosts and everything. Haha. And then it all died. Chown Ubuntu CElibs. It looks like Amazon has preference over beta in the property hierarchy. You might be right, Pantuful. Thank you. So Pantuful also works a lot on Compiler Explorer, and their contributions are just amazing. And Pantuful has more more understanding than I think, of how the code fits together. So you might be right there, my friend. We'll come back to that. And I mean, we haven't even picked that version yet for what it's worth, but I might have to make a change and do another build, as you say. So I might have to make it amazon.beta.properties. I think that's how it works, Will. Yeah. All right. Well, let's try and work out what's going on here. It'll inform everything as we sort of asymptotically, well, not even asymptotically, we're sort of circling, we're orbiting a solution here, right? And we kind of overshoot sometimes, we come back around the other side, and we're kind of coming into land. We'll get there. No, what am I doing? I'm going to go to... Yeah, actually, I don't know, because that syslog here, main process exited, code equals status equals 2. Is this the chown that died, do we think? I don't think it is. No, that works. See? So what else? Let's go to Compiler Explorer Image, which is where this thing lives, and let's look at run site. Oh, I've checked it in with the bloody... Excuse my French. Commented out code. You see? Oh, never comment out code just for a second. Okay, so we need to go to run_site.share. Well, actually, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to hack it on the machine because we're going to have almost certainly other problems. So let's make changes on both sides at the same time. There and there. There. Changing a read-only file. Ah. It's owned by root, really? Who thought that was a good idea? Sudo sudo vi. What could go wrong here? To do logging. Yes, wonderful. Right, and we know that it's going to get the $branch, and now I think we're about to discover the issue that Pantufel has found. So I'm going to go to Travis, and I'm going to find the latest version we just pushed, which is 4071. And I'll make that then the current version for beta. So CE env beta builds Euler set current 4071. And I'm sure you're right, Pantufel, but beta, and that actually came from the master branch. Lovely. So 4071 is the magic for that. So now we should be able to do run site beta, except. So we're just running it directly now instead of letting the init.d. Oh, sudo make me a sandwich. Oh, that's a very good point. This is running as root right now. I don't think we should run the site as root, you know? I think that's a bad idea. No, so no such file or directory. We're making some progress. So I think some sudoing is needed here, right? Sudo, let's man sudo. How do we actually run a process, execute a command as another user? Okay, so -u. Is that the magic? Sudo -u user command. So -u Ubuntu. And then I'm presuming I'm going to do that to make sure it doesn't misinterpret all my magical further commands. So that's one thing that we need to do. And then the other thing is we don't have Node on the path. Now we actually have a version of Node that we use inside opt compiler explorer bin. Oh, H is what you use. What does the H do? Set the home to the home directory specified by the target users. Yeah, that sounds good. That may be the default, but I'm all for explicit. Thank you. So sudo equals sudo if sudo equals not. Okay, well this is all. CE user. Okay, so we should use that. Haha. I think this just needs to be sudo. It can't not be that. This needs to be CE user. CE user. This is probably not working anymore, but we're just going to get it working at all. Okay, so we need to find opt compiler explorer bin node, I think. Node bin. There it is. I wonder where that's coming from right now, because nothing else seems to rely on it being in /opt/compile. Oh, it does up there. All right, we're already relying on it being in boost star. Let's be explicit about this. Bin node that supervisor new line, all the things. Gosh, we're running programs to run programs to run programs. Let's see where we end up with this. Okay, so that's it. Now unpacking that 4071 build. Oh, thank you, Victor. Sorry, I didn't see you going there, but thank you for your being here. Okay, that seems to have worked-ish. Espawn enoent. I wonder if that changes directory. I bet you it does. Sudo vi run site. If I do sudo minus u, this is confusing as heck, Ubuntu minus h ls. No, it doesn't change directory. All right. Then I don't know what happened there. So it should work. What's going on? Okay, it's saying starting child process with node apt up. Oh, this is because supervisor is dumb. And we need to tell it where its node is as well. And I don't like that at all, but we're going to hack it and just then learn from that. So let's run supervisor locally because I can find that. And maybe I shouldn't run supervisor for this, you know. Why don't we take that out of the mix for now? We're going to take supervisor completely out of the mix. Supervisor is a process which restarts if it exits, and frankly, that shouldn't happen, and it shouldn't be restarting. And I actually have like an error. I get an email, so why don't we just run node directly, because then we'll rely on the compiler explorer service to restart everything. Oh no, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm not paying to looking at the chat at all because I've been confused. Now we're into actual working code. User bin wine server. So that appears. It does appear hierarchy defaults Amazon beta. So I think actually Pantuful, this is just the order that it resolves things in. So it'll be the rightmost that overrides anything on the left hand side. You'd think, because the defaults is, I'm only deriving that from the left hand side being the defaults rather than the right hand side. So I think beta is actually takes precedence over Amazon. But anyway, it's working and working for some definition of working. I am on a roll. Your tangent went off on a tangent, so it's a cotangent. Actually, so bizarrely, my YouTube stream hits have gone up through the roof, and it's all because of one video I did about how Wolfenstein 3D works. And so I'm getting like thousands of hits on that. It's crazy, and the number of people that are it could be alphabetical. I don't know that it is, because defaults and then beta and then Amazon.Linux, that's not necessarily alphabetical. I think it's constructed on purpose to be in that order, but it could also just be by coincidence. But yeah, Tanner stream. But yeah, anyway, the Wolfenstein thing, there's a lot of trigonometry in that. So if you're interested in having a laugh at me, it's a poor quality, one of my early videos, very poor quality, but the content's pretty cool and fun. But it talks about tangents. That's what reminded me. So there you are. I went off of your tangent of a tangent, made me go off on a tangent about tangents. So I'm confused. But anyway, cannot access profile file. What does that mean? So we're initializing the wine babysitter with user bin wine64 stable. See, what I could do is not. No, I don't know what that means. Error cannot access profile file. User bin wine64 stable. Actually, ps aux grep wine. So the fire jailed long live wine server. I guess I could turn off for now. They want game dev related. Yes, I know, and I'm about 4 parts into my 6-part thing on how SWAT Global Strike Team worked, and I need to do the more interesting 2 videos. And that's something I was supposed to be doing while I was off on holiday gap, unemployed. But you know, we'll get there. Turbo C++. If I can get Turbo C++, I would, but it's more tricky. Wine or fire gel? That's a good question, Pantuful. Let's just try. Wine server directory home ubuntu.wine cannot be accessed. What if I just run user bin? Oh, we're going to use env wine prefix equals /tump /moose mukder temp moose. Okay, so that seems to, for some definition of work. I wonder if I haven't configured the wine prefix. I bet you that's the problem. Let's run this whole show. Cat run site. Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, Pantuful. You're always one step ahead of me. So I am going to edit this, and we must remember all the changes we've made, and I'll do some clever trickery to diff them in a second. We're also going to add dash debug here, and hang on, fire jail dash list. Okay, that's the only one we can see is the fire jail itself, right? I just want to make sure that we're going from a relatively clean environment. See if we get some extra information about what the heck's going on here. This is why I commented out those 2 lines that I checked in accidentally, is because I didn't want it to forever be doing that. Okay, this is apparently, so it does say initializing wine in /c wine prefix, killing any pre-existing wine server, empty. Fire jailed wine server PID equals that. So that works. So fire jailing, that worked. But then it was this wine64 stable, cannot access profile file. Now, as you say, Pantuful, it could be fire jail complaining about the profile, because I am trying to load a profile under that. What I'm intrigued as to why that dash debug didn't bloody work. Come on. Oh, there is debug there. There's the props.properties. Obviously don't have enough debugging information about this. I think almost everything interesting happens from, goes to info. Yeah, I did add debug. It is there. We think the same way. I'm just not quite as quick as you. Cannot access profile file. So we're not sure if that's fire jail or wine itself. Let me remind myself what's happening here. So this is a bit that I worked on before, or rather after the last stream, after all the pain and suffering about wine. So we're going to have a look at exec.js, and we're going to actually read the code that's now running here. And I wonder if I should I tell you what, first and foremost, I'm going to turn off fire jail. Let's try something simple. Let's just try getting wine working in any way, shape or form without fire jail, which is obviously not how we'd ever really want to run the site for what it's worth. VI, so we want to look inside, etc. Config, no. Oh, I can't, can I? I actually have to monkey patch the whole thing. So we're back to editing this to not. Now it's read only sudo. So we're going to comment out the get release code. Now there's a .deploy directory, which is where it's unpacked everything to. And now I'm going to sudo vi, etc. config execution.beta.properties, and I'm going to do get rid of execution type equals fire jail. We're just going to make sure that this works without fire jail. Sudo run site beta. Now if this does work and the beta thing is on, we're going to get so much debug information it's going to hurt everyone's eyes. Oh golly, unexpected token. I didn't even this is what happens when I'm staring at it and I'm seeing what I want to see. Unexpected token that. Okay, there's an easier way than commenting out those 2 lines here. Just point out that. Oh, honestly, wonderful. Okay, I think it's the fire gel. This is what I'm expecting here. This is just like this slow process is exactly what I'm trying to avoid happening later on. So that seems to be working. And now, yeah, as I say, our eyes are going to be squashed by the number of compilers. This gives you an idea about how many darn compilers I support. We support. Pantuful, myself, Ruben, a few other people. All right, so that is interesting. Regular execution via fire jail. So now let's look at the code while we think about, and just make sure there's no other surprises on that other side, and we'll then take stock of where we are, get it working without fire jail, see if we can kind of reproducibly get that running, and then move on to work out why fire jail isn't working. So we are looking for if needs wine, apply wine env. Apply wine env is up here eventually. Oh no, it's just initialize wine. That's what we do right at the beginning. Initialize wine. So when we have fire jail, it's really weird. Why? I mean, this profile works. Presumably, well, we know that the profile probably works for the wine server here. I am confused as to why that didn't work. Holy cow, so many compilers. Oh. I've just been reminded my wife is at the zoo today, and she is not actually. She has a day off, and she is doing some diversity training for the school. She does some stuff for the school, and they want to raise awareness of diversity issues, and so she's going on a training course for that for a couple of days. So I'm really interested to hear what she gets to learn, and how, and whether I can apply the learnings myself. All right, oops, back to live thingamajig. Okay, that's still going. This is all what contributes into how long it takes to start up a compiler explorer node, as I'm having to run them all just to get like information out of them. But it's looking pretty good, right? It's looking pretty good. This is bothering me though. If it can't open up this profile, then I wonder what's going on. Okay, let's go over here. Let's get rid of supervisor. I don't want supervisor now. I've decided that I don't like it. We're gonna add in our sudo -u ce user -H -- and then we're going to run opt compiler explorer node bin node of not that, but app.js, env Amazon, port that, static out dist, blah blah blah. That all looks good to me. I'm going to join those lines there. There's no need for them to be on separate lines anymore. I think that looks okay. And we're in the deploy directory. Oh, it started up. Does that mean that somewhere up here we have, yeah, look, listening on localhost 10240. So for one night only, and because I've got this in a most open setup, I think if we go, where did my AWS go? There it is, instances. So this is my public IP. You two can hit this. It might work that I can hit this port 10240. Given that it's still connecting, I think probably it's firewalled off after all. Well, there you go. It just goes to show how knocked down it is. Locked down, not knocked down. Ugh. But I have a trick, and I'm sure you know this trick too. I'm going to log into it once more, because I want to keep that running, and I foolishly didn't log in and run tmux or anything useful. So I'm going to log into whatever the IP address is here. Not that. That's the internal IP. This one. And I'm going to do -L 1024 localhost 10240. Whoops. And now I should be able to hit localhost 10240. And brilliant. You're not going to show me anything for that? See, that would indicate that like it can't find any of the files. It's not in the right directory, would be my guess. So that would, if it's not running out of the right directory, then I mean it's a miracle that any of the files are being opened up at all. But okay, Antonio, Oh no, sorry, I've just scrolled up in the wrong one. Sorry, we've already said goodbye to you, I think. Have we? No, Antonio, you are going. Okay, cool. Compiler as a service, great business opportunity. It's not a business. It's not a business I want to be in, and it's not a compiler as a service. It's exploration of a compiler as a service. But thank you for thinking of it. Okay, I wonder if this is. Am I running this locally still? I don't think I am, because this should tell me. Interesting. Right, let's have a look at var log nginx star or tail minus f star in nginx. There's nothing there, and this is telling me that page / could not be found, but it's not apparently hitting anything. Oh, my mouse has just died again. Resurrect the mouse. There we are. Okay. So I'm not seeing any indication I really am hitting the machine that I think I'm hitting. And I don't want to restart the server because you saw how long it took to start up. Let's just see if I got TCP dump installed. Haha. Dockers. Oh, I see, that's by default. Why have I got even... Am I on the right box here? 174. This is the right one. Why have I got Docker running? I don't want Docker running. Which one do we want to listen on? I want to be on ENS5. And we're just going to... Oh, that's stupid. TCP port 1240. Oh, but it'll be over local host, won't it? Darn it. Alright, there you are. I'm refreshing in this window and I'm seeing it in TCP dump. It is actually hitting the right machine. Yeah, distcc would be useful. There's something called incredibuild, which sort of has some of that flavour to it, but yeah, it's not really ideal. Okay, so we're definitely hitting the instance, and I'm just not seeing anything go on. Now, okay, so if it's not running in the right directory somehow, then it wouldn't be able to find any of its own files. So that would explain why it's not being able to read the profiles. It may be explaining why it can't read the template files to generate the slash. But I'd expect to see some kind of log output, and that's really annoying that I'm not seeing anything there, especially in debug mode. So I am going to see what process. We're going to do POS AOX grep node. And this process is that one, Ubuntu. Here we are. This is the actual process, 21824. Let's have a look inside here. ls proc. And its current working directory is the .deploy directory of the compiler explorer image, which is where it should be, right? So if we go to there, and then we have a look at, we said out static is where it's going to look for, well, that's partly a problem. We know that the less.run site. This is expecting out/dist. Okay, out dist. And there's another dist there. Darn it. What actual files are we getting here? The whole thing's a 404, but the site logo worked. Aha! It's in beta. It expects to be running in /beta. There we go. So that's the hack for it and why it's not working. And now if I look over in here, oh, everything's going to be happy with me. Look at that. Consent. Consent's important. Failed to update /temp wine with permission denied. Okay, so that is interesting. So it's not actually using the right wine prefix there. So we've got some problems to deal with. And we still don't know why fire jail isn't working. But we have some progress. Small incremental steps of progress here. Let's just see if the other compilers work before I get all excited. There it is! Hurrah! Okay, but back to wine and the disappointment. Failed to update temp wine with that. It's because, is there a temp wine? There is. Permission denied. And it could not create temporary IL, clean temporary for old IL files. Well, I think that's a symptom. That second part there, that CL command line error, is a symptom of the wine actually failing the first time round. So the question is, why is wine? Yeah. Yeah. Why is that permission denied happening? Is there? Well, first of all, is it / temp wine? We know that it should be CE wine prefix, right? Let's have a look. We do have a CE wine prefix here. We also have a wine. So there's clearly something somewhere. They both were created around about the same time. And the inevitable moose. Yeah, that's right, Pantufel, you're absolutely right. The thing is, this temp wine should not be being created anymore. In the new order, what should be happening is that the wine prefix is now set to CE wine prefix, and everything is recreated every time. It should be deleted. Like if I show you where the code is, that's probably the best thing to do. So it's changed quite a lot. First thing we do is we update the wine prefix, we initialize. Oh no, I don't delete it anymore. You're absolutely right. All right, whoops. Forget that I said that, please. We kill any pre-existing one, but it should be the case that it's running in wine prefix. Now, if I could get to the top of my scroll back buffer here, which is nowhere near going to be enough, unfortunately, to get to the top. No, then we'd be able to see what directory it ran in. But of course, we actually have got the oh! It's still using the compiler wrapper. That's a big problem. It shouldn't be using the compiler wrapper anymore. That's old fake way of running everything. And the compiler wrapper itself, which we're going to edit on the machine. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to rerun that. I am going to stop it. I'm not going to run it with debug. I'm going to run site or sudo vi .deploy etc config execution dot what Amazon dot properties. Is it in here? No, it's actually, isn't that annoying that it's in Compiler Explorer? Yes, thank you. Dot this and there it is, compiler wrapper. Goodbye, compiler wrapper. Your services are no longer required. Well, they are, because we still don't actually work properly. And now, of course, we're going to get rid of the -- debug here. Sudo. We're going to get rid of the -- debug. What is it called? Run site beta. I hate the fact this is all running as root. We're going to have to fix that, but okay. Everything is working. Just to show you, we'll let that go down the scroll up. We can see what happens here. Is it like we start a new wine server, we kill any previous stuff, we start a new wine server, we like fire up a process which we use to kind of make all the long-lived compiler processes start, and then we actually pipe through something which does echo everything is working, and then we look for that in the output to make sure that we can actually fire stuff into wine and then pull it back out again. Okay, so now we're running all the compilers in the universe. I should probably restrict it, shouldn't I, to just language C++, which doesn't actually reduce the number of compilers that much. Right, what are our learnings so far? We still don't know why the see, we have got etc fire jail, and there is the profiles there. Okay. So while that's running, I'm now foolishly confusing myself by trying to debug the next problem. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Hitting port 10240 is probably unnecessary if the Nginx stuff worked, which we'll go back to. So, gosh, so many things to think about. Such a mixed bag. I'm going to have to get a drink in a second. I'm desperate. Wine profile. No, what am I doing? I want to go from the .deploy directory, and I'm going to be as Ubuntu, and I'm going to run firejail. What are the command line parameters I'm passing? Let's go and find out. Command line parameters are -- quiet. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do -- debug. -- profile equals etc. firejail wine.profile -- private, and then I'm just going to do ls. Cannot access profile file. Isn't that interesting? Standard.inc it can't apparently access. Okay, well, at least we can reproduce the firejail problem. So we're still firing. And we just finished. Hooray. Okay, so let us rerun here and see if failed to update. Right, we're going to get rid of that because caching was our problem just there. We cache everything aggressively, and including things like that. So, okay, wine is now working. Yay! Okay, wine is working as beautifully as it ever works, and everything else. Now, what I realized is, of course, oh sugar, that's not right. That this instance ought to be running something on port 80 as well. Is that working? No. Okay, so what we need to do is log out of there, go back in again, and I'm going to redirect my local 102.40 to localhost 80. All right, you with me? So now we are going to still be hitting my localhost 102.40 / beta, but this should now be going through Nginx if Nginx is working. And it is! Oh, frabjous day. Oh, glorious day. So we're actually going through Nginx. That all works. That worked first time. Tis but a miracle. So we are left to debug the remaining thing, I think, before we kind of take stock, make a diff, check everything in, and then run it all from scratch. And that is, and I can type ls as many times as I like. There's still not going to be any files in that directory. Compiler explorer image, and then we're going to go to .deploy, and then we're going to go firejail this. Why does that not work? So wine.profile includes etc. standard.inc, and then it says error cannot access profile file. Now that was something I didn't like so much to begin with. Wine.profile includes etc. file standard.inc. Do we have a standard.inc? It is there. Oh, look, this chap includes some things that may not be on the system itself. These were things that are part of the firejail installation I have on my local machine, but now they're probably not actually on the remote machine. So let's have a look. Let's etc. firejail. Why don't I ls that directory? Look at all these. Let's have a look at its default.profile. What do we have in here? These are, I see, these are full paths on this machine. Très intéressant, oui. So I think that's our solution, such as it is. And that is for me to do sudo vi etc profile, no, firejail, standard.inc. And then these guys need to be etc firejail that. Right? So let's run our little firejail command again. Line 11 in etc firejail standard.inc is invalid. I mean, it's possible I should just copy those files into the distribution. I didn't want to originally because they were, obviously, as things updated, I wanted to take advantage of them. But if this is going to be a problem, fire jail, no, default.profile. Let's just steal those and make sure I actually got them right. Okay, it is. Okay, so but it was it's a version of FireJail thing, isn't it? What version of FireJail do I have here? 0952. What version of FireJail have I been testing with? 0958. Okay. Then that would explain why that didn't work. FireJail sudo no FireJail debug this. Okay, line 11 of standard.inc is invalid apparently. Let's have a little look at that. FireJail standard.inc 11 go. No dbus. Okay, let's just kill that. And if that's the only change we have to make to get this to work, 18. Then I'm cool with that right now, as long as it works locally. So let's move over to here. FireJail. What do I want to go for? I want to look at standard.inc, and this is going to be it was no dbus and no u2f, right? And I will take both of these two and say these features are available only in newer FireJails. And I won't know what version it is, but I will at least put the version that we're currently running over here. FireJail version greater than, it's got to be at least greater than 0.9.52. But it'd be nice to have them. And then we're going to do etc. FireJail for those, because include paths don't seem to be a thing we can do. Okay. A version in compat. Yes. Every time, Pantuful, you are just. I wish. Perhaps we should do a duo version of this where you're also actually audible, because you're so ahead of me. Okay. We still have the to-do of logging. We have to-do of SSM agent removal. We've got reconfigure while in B. Well, I've done that one. We did that. That's good. I'm feeling pretty good about this. Now, like I said, let us have a look at this f.out. Ah, darn it. That f.out file is a right pain. It's one of the compilers outputs it. It's really irritating. Who owns f.out? Ubuntu. So how can you write into that directory? You shouldn't be able to write into that directory. Nevertheless, that file has been created, and S3 key. Oh, that's AWS getting that. I don't know why that's in the file directory. That's never mind. Not going to lose Zig. Yeah, maybe it's Zig. Yeah. I know we had this. We filed this as a bug somewhere. Okay, cat run site. Let's just make sure I've got everything captured in the left-hand side that's on the right-hand side. So we've update code, which we're actually going to run every time. We've got h compiler explorer, apt Amazon port, static out dist, extra args. All the things look good there. All this other stuff looks good to me. We've got we made some changes in the .deploy directory, didn't we? Which are harder to track because this is not a Git version. No, I said Git, I didn't mean it. So etc. FireJail were where we made the changes, and I think we made those changes. We did. And then let's have a look at config Amazon. Oh yeah. We need to not be running under the compiler explorer dot Amazon dot properties. This compiler wrapper needs to be removed in the beta. So, and then there's going to be a big thing. It's going to be a pain in the bum to move from beta to actual, because this is genuine config that needs to actually just move across. So let's go find this. Do this. Oh, I already have a compiler explorer.beta.properties. Okay. Ah, there. So compiler wrapper equals empty. Right, and I think that's worthy of putting a to-do in the code here, because I will grep for that. So to-do when we deploy to master, new version to master, we need to move this to the Amazon properties, something like that. And then we've just done the same thing in execution. So execution dot defaults dot properties, no, dot beta dot properties. These things also need to be to the Amazon properties. Okay. I guess we should try the FireJail thing. Actually, before I go, so we're going to stop him or her, and please to wait. We are going to edit dot deploy etc config Amazon execution dot beta dot properties. We're going to put execution type equals FireJail back because we can, and then we're going to do sudo run site beta, and now we should be running wine under new FireJailed. Hallelujah. Everything is working, so that's looking good. One unable to stat compiler, I think that's fine. So we're off and running. Does seem to be taking longer, just sort of somewhat anecdotally. Ahaha, well there you go. ICC is not happy. None of the Intel compilers are happy running here, which is interesting. I did test them locally with my version of FireJail. Of course, this is a sort of perennial problem with FireJailing things that want to be working. LLC, Clang 3.2. I think I've probably lived with those not working opt. I need to go through all of those and work out which ones I'm okay with and which ones I'm not. Obviously, losing Intel compilers is not okay. So why don't we try pick the easiest one here, and in another window, this one over here, see if we can't work out what's going on there. So ICC -- version. Happy as Larry, the proverbial. Yeah, exactly. A lot is working. Thank you. It makes me feel better. So now we're going to run. And it may be that we just have to upgrade FireJail, because I have run this locally, as I say. So we're going to run FireJail --debug -- profile equals etc. FireJail execute .profile etc. FireJail. Oh, because I'm in the wrong directory. Yeah. Okay, libintel remotemon.so. Ooh. Remotemon. Suspicious. If we run it directly, all is roses. Although it's still running under heavy load. However, when I run like this, let's get rid of the -- debug because it is a little bit too much. Let's run it under quiet and just remind ourselves. Yeah, libintel remotemon.so. Well, this is more familiar kind of problem for me. Let's go and find out where not a dynamic executable. Ooh. Isn't that interesting? I don't know, I'm looking at the microphone. You're not there. You're there, aren't you? Yeah, this is interesting. Something funny is going on here. And I don't know why I'm not seeing that locally. Like, I have this. I'm going to take this exact line. And I'm going to go to my local machine here. And I'm going to be in the same directory, which I think I am here. And it just works. This is the same FireJail and everything, but it's a different version of FireJail, we have to remind ourselves. So there could be something in the version of FireJail. I wonder, you know, if it's probably better just to have it a consistent FireJail process running installed, rather than the whatever comes with the operating system version. But why don't we? Well, let's dig into this a little bit more. So that's interesting. Obviously, yeah, obviously something else is going on here. So let's do env ld debug equals all, and run opt compiler explorer dash dash not compiler explorer Intel. Yeah, okay. Oh, and I can never remember how to do this. What is this? 2 and 1 less. There we are. All right. File equals libintel remote mon.so needed by opt compiler explorer intel bin ICC. Well, you didn't say that before, did you? GG, and that's funny. Oh dear. Yeah, there is definitely some things going on with the protection system, such as it is, that Intel have. And I know, and I set some flags to try and prevent that, but maybe those aren't working. I thought I did anyway. But yeah, so Luca, yeah, this is, nobody understands this. You just learn, like everybody else, that there is some magical things you can type in. And so this is the dynamic loader running. The dynamic loader is responsible for all the SO finding on Linux. Turns out there's a talk on this that was I did last CppCon, I think. The bits between the bits. Was it CppCon? I don't know. It was a talk. Anyway, search for me the bits between the bits. Talk a little bit about what happens here, how this stuff works. But I don't propose that I'm an expert. All I know is I know enough to be dangerous, which is I think probably everybody knows. Yeah. So anyway, we are running I said an environment variable which tells the dynamic loader to be very, very verbose, and then we get to see output like this. Uh-oh, you watched that. Yeah, maybe I don't go into this in that. I can't remember. I have a terrible, terrible tendency to say, hey, I did a talk on this, and then actually if I watch the talk, I didn't say anything about that. So the search path is all this stuff here. Our path from the file. I wonder what's going on here. So then it tries all these things. Where does it actually find it? It looks like this is the last place it looked. So let's go and have a look and just make sure. File, yes, it is there. All right. So it finds it there because it looks for it inside opt compiler explorer Intel. And it's all part of the R path. So the R path is a set of... Ooh, I wonder if this is FireJail. Thinking out loud here. Okay, the R path is something that is set in the executable itself. So if I actually go readelf-d, if I remember rightly, on ICC. What is that file? Ah, I see. You're a symbolic link, are you? Ha. So, composer xe bin ICC. And you're a symbolic link. Darn it. Okay, you're the actual file. Cool. File, yes. LDD. Not a dynamic executable. Oh, golly, statically linked. There is no dynamic. How is this even working then? Let's just rerun my env command from earlier. Env LDD needed by that file 0. I don't know how it came about, but it's searching this and it's from our path from this. but there is no RPath in that. It's a symlink. Did I miss up something here? No, that really is that, and you're statically linked and stripped, and you don't have a bloody RPath. Sorry, excuse my French. It's not French. Excuse my language. So there's nothing in it. There's something funny going on in here, and I wonder if this is to do with whatever. I was going to say protection system, but really no. That's just me clutching at straws. I will look elsewhere. But anyway, we know that when we run this, it's going to find it eventually because it's looking at an RPath. And I can't find where that RPath is coming from. But I do know that that's where an executable can say, hey, please look in these places. The interesting thing is that RPaths, for if you're running in privileged mode, the RPath is not allowed to be relative. Anything that has relative paths in it is ignored, because it's a security risk. If you're running as a privileged user, imagine that you could copy a privileged executable somewhere else such that its RPath of ///lib now points to the directory you control as a user. You can now do privileged operations as that user. So it doesn't let you. So I'm guessing because FireGel is privileged that it's stripping out some of the RPaths, which is stopping it from seeing where the compiler is going. Now that means that probably FireGel is not dropping all of its privileges properly, and that might be a versioning thing. So let's just at least try and prove that as a vague hypothesis. So we're going to run LD debug all on FireGel, which is going to be confusing as heck. Actually, no, let's not. Let's find our FireGel. There it is. And instead of running that on ICC, we're going to run env ld debug equals all of that. And then we go 2 to 1, pipe less. All right. It's searching these places, trying file. See, look, you found it. You found it. Why? It worked. Isn't that fascinating? By interposing an extra process in between FireGel and the thing it's running, we got it to work. That is interesting. So I think that indicates that this is a bug in FireGel where it is not dropping all of its privileges, but when it execs a new process, it loses the last of the privileges. So for me, that means for now we can use a hack, sudo vi. What do I want to vi here? I want to look at, I want to edit the etc config, and we said compiler explorer dot amazon dot no dot properties. And here, this compiler wrapper, I'm just going to do compiler wrapper equals env. Ha! Just like we just did then, right? Everything is going to be there. So, Pantoufel, you said you're confused. I'm happy to go over that again. Have you got a specific thing that I can help with? Right. All right. Please let me know if there's something I can help with, though, Pantoufel. I'd love to explain something if it doesn't make sense. No. Okay. Thank you. All right. I'm going to let that start up. We're going to have to. I think, for my own sanity, I think we should all agree on a version of FireGel. And I want to make sure that the FireGel is not installed in /opt, like everything else that I'm running is in /opt. On the compiler explorer side, but that's a network driver, and I just think that relying on a privileged setuid binary that lives in a network file system is very dodge. So we won't do that. I'm going to need to run it locally. So while we are talking, oh, that's the wrong one. Oh, but sorry, I completely ignored the fact that we still got a non-zero result for that version of ICC. But it did work for the others by the looks of it. So mostly there. Mostly there. Okay, V explains properties. Yes. Okay, so we're confused. And where was I going to go with this? That's right. I am at the get the fire jail source. So I think this is straightforward to build. Git and a compiler. I think we'll have those. So we will come back to that. LDC is also not working. Now, obviously, I don't want to get. I want a tagged version of this so that we can get the actual a specific version of FireJail and not just the random whatever happens to be the current version of FireJail. But we can certainly just make sure that this would work pretty much as is. So let's get that. Nope. That. Oh, sure. So I'm going to do this on the build machine itself, on the compiler explorer node, just to see if this would work out okay. Configure. Okay, prove. BusyBox workaround, no. Fatal. Everything seems to be doing stuff. AppArmor is empty. That's interesting because we know that if I run firejail -- version, I get AppArmor support is enabled here. So AppArmor being empty makes me suspicious. Enable AppArmor. Is that not on by default? Let's try enable AppArmor. Aha! That would be why then. Sudo apt install AppArmor devel apt cache search AppArmor grep devel lib AppArmor dev sudo apt install lib AppArmor dev. So I guess while I'm doing this, I should be typing into the setup common, because this is going to be on all the machines. I think we should have that. FireJail. Oh no, it's not on all machines. Sorry, it's only on FireJail. There we go. So goodbye. And then instead we are going to go push d /temp. Oh, we need lib AppArmor dev, don't we? Lib AppArmor dev. Oh, thank you, Luca. That was fun yesterday. I really appreciated the time that we took together. That was fun. So yesterday after my stream, Luca asked over Twitter DM a very interesting question, and we muddled through, and I think we both learned a lot about how the vectorization had taken place in a particular way. But that was all C++. What was I doing? Lib AppArmor dev. I did that. Yes. Hopefully that's all I need to install, and that will automatically install all the other things that are needed. Okay, so let's try configure enable AppArmor. Wonderful. Now, if I did that without enable AppArmor, does it now just work? This is just more for my own edification. No, it wouldn't. Okay. So I'm presuming I need AppArmor. I mean, I just want to turn on all the things, right? So git clone, what was it? This thing here is what we wanted. Expression templates to vec3, easy enough though. Yeah, that's really interesting actually. Yeah, that is a fun thing. I mean, obviously there are many libraries out there that do some form of expression template magic, and I'm not against it at all. The intention really is to make this as simple as possible without making it too simple. And obviously finding that line is very difficult as I meander around the things that seemed interesting to me. So I appreciate, Andreas, if you get something that looks good in there, that would be another like dimension. Was it you, Andreas, that left the comment on YouTube, the long comment? I haven't had a chance to reread it. Okay, so we're now going to do cd firejail. Then we're going to go /configure --enable @armor, and then make sure that works. -j proc. Why would you not use all the cores? Yes, thank you so much, Andres. That was a really thoughtful response. It's going to give me a lot of. So I've sort of blocked out tomorrow to really think about my CppCon. Whatever it's called. What is it called? It's called submission. Call for proposal. Proposal, that's the word. I knew it was that. And so I'm going to go over it and have a really good think about it and see if I can't use all the comments that you put there as grist to the various directions I could go in. And I think probably now they'll probably be bounding it to something interesting without spending too much time writing a raycaster that no one's really interested in the output of. It's just more of the experience of having written it. Okay, so then this guy would now be a sudo install or make install, but we're not going to do install. We're just going to try running no clashing IDs found, running normally. That's great. Setcomp.32 test source. Where did it put the file? Run minus name firejail. Source firejail. Let's make sure if nothing else. Okay, it won't be setuid root. So apt remove firejail. Goodbye firejail. Sudo make install. Make install popd. Okay. Firejail -- version. Oh, 0.960 RC2. Yes. Haha. Git branch -a. Oh, git tag. Yeah, we should probably pick something which looks like a supported. Possibly copyrighted IP. Yeah, I don't. That's a good point. I mean, you make a point about. Presumably the IP you're referring to there is small point. If so, I don't know. I should really double check. But obviously, I used it purely as a reference. I haven't actually copied the code. Well, I have the code's in my repository. Yeah, so that's a good point. Thank you, Andres. Thank you. Yeah, I obviously need to actually get a talk from it first of all. All right, we're going to do git check out that. Check out that. Does that work? It does. Okay, and then we're going to configure --enable armor. Wonderful. Min direct branch equals thunk. Yeah, it's got all sorts of Spectre things going on in there. That's scary. Oh, I see. Oh, I haven't played Kerbal Space Program, but I'm sure it's the best thing. Make J4 whatever. Sudo make install. Okay, let's see if this gets. Oh, actually, well, before I do that, I'm going to sudo vi. Oh, rsync got upset. Sudo vi dot deploy etc. config compiler explorer dot amazon.properties, and we can now get rid of that Sorry, just get rid of it. Yes, and get rid of the env. Then we can go to our FireJail and our standard.inc, and I think we can put this and this back in, and these chaps can be back to disabled common if we're lucky, right? We can then that means we're going to be doing a whole bunch of reversion somewhere else. Okay, we'll let that do the needful thing. We're going to come into their execution type equals sandbox. We've got the beta.properties, and there was another thing, etc. Standard.inc. This appears to be working. Let's just make sure that the wine, yeah, wine's working. Ah, joyous, happy times. So some undos are required here. Undo all the things. Just reading that as nod bus. Like, what is a nod bus? I don't know what a nod buff is, or a nod VD. And what? Spawn FireJail enoent. What does that even mean? You were working a minute ago, it would seem, and then path spawn enoent handle process. That's path equals FireJail. Confused am I? Which FireJail? Use a local bin FireJail. I'm not against putting the actual full path in. Let's kill that for a second. Vi etc. No, sudo vi.deploy etc. config execution.beta.properties, and we're going to override FireJail, which is the name of the command it's going to run, with the absolute path to it, just in case, just to make sure there's nothing funny going on with caching of some description. And then we're going to go sudo run site beta. Okay, and we know that everything is working because wine starts up. We know that these compilers are apparently running. And more importantly, all the ICC versions appear to have worked. So whatever our env hack around was, yes, enoen is presumably, yeah, is the operating system level error that it got back from spawn, I presume, which is saying that it couldn't find what was going on, which sometimes it happens because it couldn't find a dependent library. So my guess is actually what happened here is that the dynamic loaders cache was out of date, and I needed to run DL magical. I can't think what the magic thing is to reset the cache of the DL dynamic loader, and this has just worked around it. But I'm not against this. I much prefer a proper path rather than this is bad, like let's use a full path if we have. So let's go and put it into execution.amazon.properties, which I can put it in here. Remind me if I can remember what it's called. Use a local bin FireJail, because it's only used if it's asked for, so we can go in the defaults. All right, I think we're close to where I'm going to have to take a break and make myself some lunch, as I've been going now for 2 hours 20 talking to my little self. Well, not my little self, to you wonderful people. Oh no, GCC 1.27 didn't work. Well, that has to be fixed. I went to great effort to get that to work. Oh, I think that's fine. I think. Goes on the list. An older version of NPM. Okay, thank you, Andreas. So, GCC 1 spot 27. Question mark. Okay, while that's going, I am saving files. Everything's saved over here in IntelliJ. So in the compiler Explorer directory itself, what do we got here? Let's see what we have. Git diff. I've got some to-dos in there, which makes sense. We have updated the wine server. So we've added FireJail as a direct thing. We've also put compile. Yeah, this is all good stuff. So I'm going to say git add dot more changes for beta. So this should only affect beta. I know we've got beta properties, obviously, and then that execution there just tells it where to find FireJail, which it only uses if it's trying to use it. So we don't need to guard that anywhere. 1.27, yeah, was pretty old. It's I think it's the earliest version of GCC that will actually build code. I wonder if it's working on the live site. You know, if only there was a way to test. Let's have a quick look. Oh, isn't this site slow? 1.27. It's not working on the live site. Oh, shame. All right, I need to fix that. But the way that this one gets fixed is that we make an issue for it. Compile Explorer issues. GCC 1.27 doesn't show up. 1C hash 1263. Although we have the compiler, it doesn't show up in the list as it doesn't support --help or --version. Labels, compiler issue, it's a bug. It's a good first issue because I think all we need to do is like have a bit of hacky special case code that goes, oh, okay, if it's that old, we'll do it. And no project or milestone. Brilliant. Okay. 1988, sorry. Yes, it was the 80s then. Isn't that great? In 1988, I was 12. Okay, you go away. Oh, no, you stay. Stay. Sit. Okay, everything looks good on the compiler Explorer front, so I'm going to push that. And the manner in which I'm pushing it is salt and pepper's real good. Okay, let's popping the stack or jumping from side to side. Let's see what we get if we reload my the site here. Get/beta. I should really get rid of that list of built-ins. Okay, lovely. Wine's working still, even though we're running under FireJail. Beautiful, wondrous. Compiling. Loads of output. That's not ideal, is it? I think somewhere along the line I've left in a debug option for FireJail. So let's go and fix that right now. So that'll be an execution dot or exec, sorry, dot JS, and we're going to search for --quiet. We're going to see that's probably commented out in another spot. Quiet. Okay. Base options equals --debug. Okay, --quiet. Aha, another fix. So I'm glad we found that. So that's what this is all about. Git status, git add dot, git commit -m, run wine in, run FireJail in quiet mode. We have definitely nothing will affect the tests there. Git push. All right. Okay. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Oh, let's just check Intel's compiler, as that's the other sort of black sheep in this. ICC. I feel pretty, oh so pretty. File not found /example.cpp. Well, that's unfortunate, isn't it? What happened there? Why do you have to be different? I'm going to chalk that up from needing more investigation. I'm sure I've had this working locally. So ICC file not found. That means that the jailing is somehow confusing which directory it's in. The way that this ought to work is... Why is it saying display is not set? Okay, filejail is running with these things here. It should be running in the directory where the source file is there. Source file is there. Oh, not what I mean. Yeah, we write the source file to a temporary directory. So somewhere up here, you should see the command line options. Found disable command. That's good. Building quoted command line. All of that stuff. Private. We should be looking for a private directory somewhere in here. Private, etc. Copying. Am I just missing that? Does it work with the other compilers? I'm sure it was working with the other compilers. It's not working for the other compilers either. Ah ha ha. Well. Alright, I've got something to fix locally for all the compilers, as I apparently have broken all of them. The trick here is that execute filejail, things should come into here. It won't be in the needs wine for those, which is nice. So instead it says, if there's a custom working directory, then we're going to add -- private equals that, which should have made it into the directories here. And then we're now running /example.cpp. So that should mean that the private home directory that it runs under, which should be the only thing that's read-write, has the file input in it, and it would expect the output in it. And we've rewritten it to be, instead of the /tump that it is on the host file system, in the jail, it's the current directory. Evidently, that has not worked, though, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't, because we only do this mapping here when we do -- private equals that. So it looks like the -- private is not working. What version are we running on my local machine? 0958.2. 0958.2. Okay, it can't be a version conflict then. It can't be a version conflict because... Oh, why don't we compare the flags? There's another thing. All right, I'm going to put you... Okay, enabled. Everything is enabled in here, right? And I'm going to detach this terminal, and I'm going to move you, and we're going to compare... Oh, that's the wrong one! Oh, that's sad. Detach this terminal. I don't think you can reattach them, unfortunately, in this terminal program, which would be what I want. So local machine. No. Kernel K. Same machine. Right, let's close him. We don't need that many of those. Okay, there we are. Right. Definitely remote machine. App owner support is enabled. App image support is enabled. Troot support is enabled. Enabled. Networking. File transfer networking. Overlay FS support is enabled. Private home support is enabled. Good, because that was one thing we needed. So everything looks the same, doesn't it? It looks like it's the same thing. So I don't know why there would be a reason that it wouldn't work over here. So why don't we run an experiment and try and work this out? And I realise I'm getting further and further away from lunch here. So, code. Something like this. A temporary directory will be created, and something in that directory would be created. Example.cpp. So let's do that on both machines. Temp code. Boom. Boom. Okay, we have the same setup on both machines. Here, I'm going to run filejail, and let's make sure I'm in the right notes. Compiler Explorer deploy. Okay, we're in the same kind of route now. Filejail --debug, because we need all the debugs, -- profile equals etc config execution dot. No, not etc config. Come on, brain. etc. firegel execute dot profile, and we're going to do dash dash ls just to start the things off. Excellent. Right. So the actual ls output is this directory. Brilliant. But now we're going to do dash dash private equals temp code, and this should make everything. See, that didn't work. You see what I'm saying here? This ought to have ls in that temp code directory. Inaccessible profile. Oh, because I'm in the wrong thing. Okay. How about now? There. So there the directory did not change. Why would that differ? Arg is all I can say. Let's go and see if there's some configuration option in that thing that isn't being printed out. Configure. Private. Enable private home. Disable private home. Well, that's irritating, isn't it? It's very, very irritating indeed. And you apparently are the same darn version. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's what you'd think, right? But 0.952.8, everything else agrees, but this one, the private home support works and the other one doesn't. See, I can't even find it because, like, so it doesn't actually change directory to the private home. I wonder if that's a clue. I wonder if that's more to do with some other setting. But the fact that it can see this directory is sort of surprising to me. Oh, I wonder if I do cd temp code and, sorry, intriguing, right? So something interesting is going on here with the fact that one lives in the correct directory by sort of default. I wonder if there's been like a patch. You know how Debian sometimes patches stuff on top of what's there. It's the kind of thing that might have been fixed. I'm not against having a quick go with a newer version of FireGel just because it's so easy to do right now. So let's just do git tag git checkout 0960 rc1 git log. In fact, let's do a quick search in here. Exec VP is different, isn't it? If you've got a bit of context on that, between what? I'm going to look for private home. Nothing seems to be. Alright, let's just check out master. Now I go quiet as I'm running out of steam here. I was really hoping to get this sort of sorted. Okay, so firejail -- version. We should now see that this is at like 960. Thingamby2. Let's go to, where was it? I need to be in is /compiler deploy firejail. That doesn't work. Okay, so this is me deliberately using the latest one. Shell equals none configured, but no. Oh yeah, ls. That doesn't work either. So yeah, except. Oh, thank you, Alexander. What? So, right. You're actually looking at the output here. This guy is just running directly ls, and over here it's just running direct. What? Home Ubuntu. I'm not seeing the difference there. Maybe you can see something I can't. I mean, we're seeing set comp filter, mounting read only. Well, that's already interesting. Dropping all capabilities, no new privs set. Drop privs, no. Maybe it was a different run. Yeah. Maybe I have been changing so many things, obviously, under your feet here. Let's go back in my history and see if we can't see what you were seeing, because I don't doubt you. So there is me configuring. There's all of the stuff to do with the thing. Okay, here. You're absolutely right. Oh, yeah, no, that's right. I was playing around with ls home, ls tilde and things like that just to try and make it work. I mean, I'm not against that as a solution to the problem, but it's weird that they're not the same. So what I might just quickly do is have a look at the user share fire jail. Anything on my side? Readme.debian. That's the. Oh, anything in here? Try out any users. Yep, fine. What about in the change log here? See what they have changed to see if there's some kind of patch. Yes. Oh, come on. Yeah, there's no obvious patch that's been applied with one versus the other. Isn't that odd? Very strange indeed. See, I mean, that works by deliberately saying. I think what the last one I had was just tilde there. The profile change of main server. It could be bountiful, but I thought I put them back. So let's just check that. So we're gonna look at etc. Fire jail. Execute.profile. So that so far, private temp, private etc. Whitelist and read only. All that looks good to me. And then the standard.inc. Shell none, no exec temp, disable command, caps.drop all. Yeah, I mean, I suppose there's nothing to make it, to force it to change directory. What do we get? Directories, home directory is visible. Blacklist. Directory, lots of disable, remount, no exec, no, fine. Overlays names equals private equals user home, private bin equals that. Change directory? I want to find out how to make it like change directory. Thank you, Andreas. I'm going to probably stop in a minute myself because I need to have a break. I need to have some lunch. I will probably stream again in the afternoon for a little bit if you want to join me in another hour or so. So, in fact, what I am going to do is I will pause this here. I will try and find a workaround for this particular issue. Obviously, I can change directory, but if I change directory, then now I have a problem with the path of the includes for that directory. Sorry, for the includes for the profile, because the profile needs to be absolute or relative. And if it's relative, that works. But if it's absolute, then I also have to make the includes inside the things absolute. So there may be some things I haven't seen. Obviously, we have the source. I can go and have a look at it. Thank you again so much for watching and hanging out with me. And if you want to carry on this in about an hour's time, I will be back. So, yeah, and by then, hopefully, I've either found the fix for this, or I have dribble, brain, come on, brain. I've either found the fix for this, or at the very least, I have rebuilt a new AMI with all of the changes we've done, and we've sort of tested that all of the hacks that I've made along the way actually all work, and that the fact that I have actually collected them and canonicalized them inside the configuration. So thank you very much for watching. I will catch up with you maybe in an hour or so. And now I get to awkwardly turn off the streaming system once I remember how it works. There we are. So thank you. Have a good lunch or evening or whatever. Maybe see you in a bit.